Hey ubba-bubba, welcome to JuanMD. My name is Juan, I'm an MD, and on JuanMD I talk all about living life as a doctor and making the most of my Juan life to live. I finally finished the gastroenterology chapter for Master the Boards for the USMLE Step 2 CK. Before I proceed to the next chapter, there are two things that I want to do. One, actually consolidate all the info that I've gathered, and two, make another drawing. So today's video, I'm gonna be drawing inflammatory bowel disease, Crohn disease, and ulcerative colitis. And since it's Chinese New Year, I'm gonna be depicting Crohn disease with a tiger. So sit back, relax, and watch me draw. So this is the final product, and now I'm gonna be explaining what the drawing means. So we have a tiger fighting a snake inside this hexagonal boxing ring. And the tiger is holding a stop sign as its weapon. Very peculiar choice of weapon. And then the snake has in its tail a dagger. A dagger is quite lethal for a friendly fight like this. The tiger is supposed to represent Crohn disease, and the snake is supposed to represent ulcerative colitis. Think claw, sounds like Crohn. I don't know, that's a stretch, but make the association there. And think coil, sounds like colitis, because snakes coil. Now let's start with the tiger. As we all know, tigers are known for their stripes. And those stripes remind me of the fissures that form in the colon in Crohn disease. See, Crohn disease is inflammation of the entire thickness of the bowel wall. In other words, these are called transmural lesions. We see that our ring only has 3 walls, and the tiger is next to one of the walls. And so mural means wall, and so let's hope that reminds you that Crohn's disease is known for its transmural lesions. Next, we see that in the right hand, the tiger is making a fist. And so Crohn's disease is associated for fistula formation. Likewise, the tiger has a tail. That reminds me of the intra-abdominal adhesions that can form in Crohn's disease. Finally, the tiger is holding a stop sign as its weapon. That means that in Crohn's disease, you're more likely to have obstruction. I wasn't able to represent it here, but perianal lesions are possible in Crohn's disease. Now let's look at the tiger's forehead. If you take special notice of the tiger's forehead, the stripes on its forehead kinda look like an antibody. And also the tiger has these decorative pearls lining its forehead as well as its eyelids. Those pearls are supposed to look like yeast. Saccharomyces cerevisiae is a yeast. Patients who have Crohn's disease are likely to be positive with anti-Saccharomyces cerevisiae antibodies, or ASCA. Next, let's talk about our friend the snake, whose coils represent ulcerative colitis. Ulcerative colitis does not have transmural lesions. Instead, it has these mucosal ulcerations that only affect the surface of the colon's lumen. We have these yellow spots that are lining the body of the snake. But wait, hold on. There are no spots on the end of its tail. Ulcerative colitis is not known to have perianal lesions. Up on top, we see a pattern on the snake's crown that also looks like an antibody. Above the antibody, we see a white triangle that's supposed to remind you of white blood cells, particularly neutrophils. Patients with ulcerative colitis will express anti-neutrophil cytoplasmic antibodies, or ANCAs. More specifically, anti-perinuclear neutrophil antibodies, or small p ANCA. Now let's go back to the big picture. I neglected to include it here, but patients with inflammatory bowel disease should be assessed with endoscopy. Endoscopy will allow you to put the camera inside the colon and take a look at what the lesions look like. You can also do a barium enema, although this is much less specific. And finally, serology will allow you to see whether the patient expresses ASCA or ANCA. How do you manage a patient with inflammatory bowel disease? On the floor of the ring, we can see a pepper. Peppers are members of the nightshade family, which are known to contain molecules called salicylates. One of the drugs known to treat inflammatory bowel disease is a derivative of salicylate, and it's called mesalamine. Next, these two fighters are fighting in a hexagonal ring with only 3 walls. That ring is supposed to remind you of the aromatic rings, 4 of which comprise sterol molecules. And so steroids are another drug that you can use to manage patients with inflammatory bowel disease. Finally, of the 2 of these fighters, we can see that the snake is holding a knife. Patients with ulcerative colitis can ultimately be cured by resection. Resection done in patients with Crohn's disease is not effective because regrowth is known to recur after resection of ulcerative colitis. For Crohn's patients, resection is reserved only for patients with obstructive lesions. And that, my friends, is how a tiger and a snake remind me of inflammatory bowel disease. What do you guys think? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you did, please click on the like button and also hit subscribe and click on the bell so that you can stay tuned for future updates. Before we end, it's time for the word of the day. Until next time, guys, this has been Juan. Always remember to live life to the fullest because you only have